Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I am here. I think I'm tapped into the Matrix.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to do an introductory spiel here. Anyways, welcome back to Bongopix, everybody. I'm Bongo, your host. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm doing something totally new. I haven't done something like this before. I'm literally checking in today and going and I'm just talking about vinyl records. I've been collecting retro stuff since around 1999, and one of the things that is very important to me in my collection of old stuff is vinyl records. And I'm here with my buddy Chris. We go a long way back. And Chris is also a vinyl collector as well. You've been very involved with the VC community on YouTube. Chris, how are you doing right now?
I am great, Bongo. I am great. I'm so happy that we were able to get together for a little collaboration here.
I am so excited for this collaboration. I've done video game collaborations, but this is officially my first just chatting, just nerding out to vinyl records type of collaboration. And I certainly hope that it won't be the last.
Yeah, same with me. My first time, other than just comment discussion with other YouTubers, my first time actually joining in on something like this. I've seen some other channels do it, and it's pretty exciting to be able to do it with someone like you, who we've known each other for a long time now. And we're both, you're my vinyl buddy. We used to, both of us used to go vinyl shopping together years ago.
That's right. Yes, we did. Yeah, the two of us back when I was still in Toronto, and I remember
That's right.
going to definitely She Said Boom, um, uh, Sonic
Sonic
Boom.
Boom,
There's
Sonic
a lot of
Boom.
there's a lot of boom themed
That's right.
businesses
That's right.
in the Toronto area. But yeah. So Chris and I are both local to the Toronto area, but now we both no longer live in the Greater Toronto area. We are both in the countryside. I'm over at South Algonquin in the east side of Algonquin Park, and whereabouts are you at?
I am in a little town called Wanapate, just about 20 kilometers east of Sudbury, Ontario.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
So we're
I
both
already
up
have
in
a
the
view
snowy north.
in the snowy north. I already have a viewer here. Talking Galade says, "Did somebody say vinyl?" Yes, we did say vinyl. We are here to talk about vinyl records. Yes, we're going over our top 10 vinyl records released 50 years ago in 1972. And now, Chris, we were talking about that little caveat.
Yes. So there are going to be some 1972 albums that maybe you and I don't have. We're not going to be mentioning those because we're just talking about ones that we have that are in our collection that we really like. So if you don't see some of your favorites here, you can, let us know in the comments, but don't be too harsh because maybe it's on our list. Maybe we'll get it eventually.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So both Chris and I, despite our decent collections, we don't own all of the albums released in 1972. So
That's
so
right.
there might be some albums that don't appear on our list. But nevertheless, if you're sitting out there and you're listening and we don't have one of these important albums from 1972, let us know because
Yeah.
maybe next time we go shopping, we should really be looking out for those albums.
That's right. And then the other thing we were going to mention as well is that if there's any people maybe from Europe or elsewhere, not in North America, they might notice that some of these albums, they might say, hey, that was released in 1971. There were some different release dates in North America that there were
Yeah.
in the UK. So you might see some albums that were released in maybe November or December 71, but over here in North
Yeah.
America, they were released in January or February. So they kind of they make our list. We get to cheat a little bit.
That's right. And then my buddy here talking Galate is saying, I had just bought a vinyl record of Foo Fighters' greatest hits.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that's
I
awesome.
I
That's
just got
awesome.
for Christmas, Annika, my girlfriend, got me The Color and the Shape, Foo Fighters.
So, and I'm ashamed to admit, right now, I do not have a Foo Fighters album in my collection. I'm ashamed to
You've
admit
got
it.
time. You've got time.
I have time, right? But this is the beauty of vinyl collecting is that the next time I go record shopping, I need to bolster my Foo Fighters selection, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay, well, what
I just want to say hello, Purple Bag of Doritos. Hello, another user, a Twitch follower out there. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about vinyl records here today.
that's right.
So right on. Well, we were we were debating about who goes first, and my idea was, you know what, Chris, you were the first one that broke into this online vinyl community, so I would be
Okay.
delighted to give you the honor of going first. And we're going
Okay.
over our top 10. We're talking
Top
about
10.
10 out.
Yeah,
Top 10 albums.
top 10 favorite 1972 albums that we like to spin. So I will start,
Let's go.
and coming out the gate
Let's go.
with number 10, we
What is
are
it?
going with something a bit softer, a bit folky.
Yeah.
This is America.
Nice.
So
Nice.
this is actually my dad's, and we can't really see, there is my last name written here, which, it's funny because any other album that I would have purchased, that would be a blemish, but it's kind of cool when it's like your own dad's record, and like you've got, he wrote this, 50 years ago or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the debut album from America.
Nice.
These guys were young at the time when they released this, so I think they were in their late teens, like 19-ish,
Cool.
and they're a trio. Um, there's some nice tunes on here. This is, as I said, this is like folky, soft rock. The big hit off of this was Horse with No Name.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
familiar with that one.
which apparently in the UK, this album was released without Horse with No Name, but it was such a big single at the time that when they made the North American release, they had to add it on there because it was probably their biggest hit to date.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is what my girlfriend and I would call morning music. We like to put on some soft stuff in the morning and look out the window at the water and just drink our coffees and start our day with something softer. So this would make the list. There are some really nice tunes on here. Um, as I said, Horse with No Name. There's also a really nice song called I Need You, which is really nice. And then there's also one that's called Sandman,
Okay.
which is a little bit faster paced, which I kind of like that one. So America, as I said, is a trio. One of the guys, Peak, I don't know his first name.
Yeah.
He would end up leaving America years later, and they became a twosome. And I think he became like a Christian pastor, or at least he started making like Christian music, and just left America, and then started to pursue that. So they became a twosome after that. But this is a nice one from 1972, softer, folky, but this is a good one to pick up.
Morning coffee music,
That's
right?
right. That's right. You can't be rocking out all the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. So that's Chris's number 10.
Number 10.
All right. Bongo's number 10. And for those of you that are just joining us here, we're talking about the top 10 albums from 1972 that we happen to own. Right on. Okay. So let's go to my selection here. So my number 10 is The Best of the Birds, Greatest
Nice.
Hits, Volume 2. So Jay Busson is back here. Jay Busson, welcome back. Welcome back to the stream. We're talking about vinyl records here today. So The Birds. This I don't know if I'd consider this the best Birds album ever. I definitely do think that side 2 is the standout side.
Yeah.
I'm sure Chris, you've got this same similar feeling where I have this experience where I own an album and it's just like side one, like one side is just like
Yeah.
so much oomph than the other side. This is like one of those albums, but nevertheless, I had to have this on here for several reasons. Number 2, yeah, side 2 is just absolutely awesome. I'd say the standout track, You Ain't Going Nowhere. but side two is just a fantastic collection of songs here. The Byrds started off not as a country rock band, but there was a musician whose name is Graham Parsons. Died really young at the age of 26. He didn't quite even make it to the 27 club.
Right.
And what else was I going to say? This album is totally from their country rock period. I think they started off as a psychedelic band, but then upon meeting Graham Parsons, they turned into a country rock band. And me living where I live here in the village of Whitney in the township of South Algonquin, country rock is a really big, like, that's the vibe. That's like the ethos of the land here
Yeah.
is this really wonderful mixture of country and rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I think the Byrds are really symbolize that. So yeah,
Now,
that's my number 10 right there from the Byrds.
now, if I'm not mistaken, I think they only made one album with Graham Parsons. I think Sweetheart of the Rodeo was like the big one that they made with Graham Parsons.
That's correct. Yes, uh he did branch off, and then he had another band called the Flying Burrito Brothers,
Yeah.
and then he also burnt out and died as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we lost a creative at a young age very quickly, but he lived life to the fullest, indeed. Uh,
Yes. As many rock stars do.
as many rock stars do.
Okay.
Absolutely,
So that was your number 10?
that was my number 10.
Okay. So we're going with number 9 now for me. Okay. This is Electric Light Orchestra. This is the debut album from ELO. Some people might know this album as called No Answer, but it's actually that's actually a misnomer. So the label will show that it's called No Answer, but I guess the story is that somebody was calling the production company for some reason, and they didn't get an answer, so they just wrote down No Answer. And whenever they printed the labels on the records, they thought that that was the title because it said No Answer. So the actual label of the record will say No Answer, but this is just self-titled Electric Light Orchestra. So this is obviously from 1972. ELO was kind of transitioning from there was a band called The Move, which
Okay.
was had most of the ELO members were in this band called The Move, and it was, you know, Jeff Lynne, Bev Bevan, and Roy Wood. And Roy Wood was like the leader of that band, and I think The Move actually released an album that year as well, 1972, and then they released the ELO album, and basically that was the end of The Move, and they just started with ELO. But Roy Wood, he wouldn't stay with ELO for too long. I think he appears on ELO 2, and then that's it. So with this album, this is like uh when you think of the Beatles, like Eleanor Rigby, you know, when you hear like the cello in
Yep.
Eleanor Rigby, or like the end of Strawberry Fields where it gets like real trippy and like you can hear the cello,
Yeah.
that to me like that personifies this album here.
Yeah.
There is so much cello in this album. It is almost like, if I had one bad thing to say about it, is that there's too much cello. Like it's enough. It's enough with the cello. But so they kind of trade tracks. There's Roy
Yeah.
Wood will write one, Jeff Lynne will write another, Roy Wood one, Jeff Lynne another. And this isn't I don't think it's not ELO's best.
Okay.
It's pretty raw, but you will see you can kind of see that Roy, or not Roy Wood, but Jeff Lynne has a real penchant for writing good hooks. You can kind of hear some poppy hooks that he writes in this on this album,
Yeah.
which he'll obviously take into more further ELO albums. Um, I would say a couple standout tracks on here. The opening track, 10538 Overture, it's pretty nice. That's a Jeff Lynne album, a Jeff Lynne song. Mr. Radio, also from Jeff Lynne.
Yeah.
Queen of the Hours is really nice. And
Yeah.
then the final track is called Whisper in the Night, which is Roy Wood, and that one's quite nice as well. So that is my selection number 9 for 1972 albums.
Number 9. Uh, Before we move on, can I ask you what is your top ELO album?
Top ELO album is El Dorado.
El Dorado?
From
Okay.
1974, which is I think that's their fourth that they
Right.
released. It's a concept album. I talk anyone who follows my channel, I talk about it in a couple other videos, and that one apparently that was like so Jeff Lynne's father was a musician, like a classically trained musician, and
Yeah.
he apparently had criticized Jeff Lynne that he didn't have any good harmonies or like any good real like tunes in any of his songs. So kind of as a like to spite his dad, he wrote El Dorado and inserted all these real catchy tunes. And happy to say that in that one there's much less cello than in this one.
they were they just totally binged on the cello.
Yeah, a little
That's
too much.
that's incredible. Okay, I'm just gonna give a shout out to Gold Scythe. Naz is in the Rock House. This is a user on YouTube, and Naz runs a channel called The Hungry Kayak. So welcome,
Nice.
Naz. Thank you for being here. Yeah, he does. So he lives really close to uh, uh, the Toronto waterfront, and he's got a kayak. And then his whole thing is he gets takeout food from various different vendors in the Toronto area, and then he does his kayaking, and then he breaks for lunch, and then films his YouTube video as he's like on an island somewhere or on a riverbank, and
That's
he's just
awesome.
like yeah, and he's eating his takeout food with his kayak, so it's pretty neat.
That's right up our alley.
That is right up our alley. So thank you, Naz, for stopping by and visiting our stream today. Okay, my number 9. So the way I did this, I have 3 compilations on my
Okay.
list of top 10 albums from 1972, and I've put all 3 of these compilations at the very end of my top 10 list because as important as compilation albums are, there is something to be said about those original releases, right? Those
Yes.
original albums.
Yes.
So my next compilation, and this is the second compilation out of 3 that appear on my list. This one is called Heavy Cream by, of course, the band Cream.
Nice.
So this is Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, and Jack Bruce. And a lot of people forget that Eric Clapton was not actually the singer in Cream. It was actually the bassist, Jack Bruce, that did
That's
the
right.
vocals. Yeah.
That's right. I think he might sing on a couple, but I think yeah, he was not the regular singer.
That's right. I think he did contribute vocals for sure, but it
Hmm.
was absolutely Jack Bruce that did the majority of the singing.
Yeah.
This album this to me, this album really celebrates the vibe and the sound of vinyl. Whenever I put this on, there's just something so crunchy about it. There's something so 60s and this kind of raw psychedelic energy in this album. It really I off the top of my head I can't even recall how many albums Cream had. I don't think that they had a lot because they were a super group and then they disbanded.
Yeah.
They did not last very long at
Yeah.
all. But if you're ever just gonna buy one Cream album, Heavy Cream, you're totally set. This is a beautiful album. There's 2 discs in it, side 1, 2, 3, 4. And as for favorite tracks, I love the track Badge. I love Badge.
Yeah.
Very cliche. White Room, another one that I just absolutely love.
Yeah.
I Feel Fine. What else? Crossroads, of course, is another incredible song. Tales of Brave Ulysses. That I just like cover to cover, this album to me just really encapsulates the 60s.
Yeah.
And of course, this was released in 72 as well.
Right.
So
And that's a double album?
it is a double album. Yeah, I love double albums. It is a double album.
Beautiful.
It's just a beautiful one right there. And when I look at it, I don't know if you can see that on, yeah, maybe not. It might be a bit too bright. But
Yeah.
1972. It actually has the date 1972 on it.
Great.
So
Yeah,
that's
Cream.
That's my
Cream,
number 9.
sorry, I was just gonna say, cream is, I don't have any cream in my collection. Obviously, like, it's funny because there's albums that you see out, like I'll see out when I'm digging. Like I've seen like Disraeli Gears, and I intend to pick it up, but
Yeah.
it's not always. Sometimes it's just not the right time, or you just don't
Yeah.
find the right copy, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'll get it eventually, but don't have any cream. Other than I showed recently, an Eric Clapton, like a history of Eric Clapton,
Yeah.
and that's a also a double disc, and there's a lot of cream on that as well. So got a little bit of cream,
Awesome. Well, you know what? If you're only going to get one album, Heavy Cream, and that will
heavy
set
cream.
you up just right.
All right, cool, cool. Okay, so we're on
Okay.
to number 8 now.
Let's go.
Okay, so this is an album I have shown. This was a VCLT, which is for anyone who doesn't know, Vinyl Community Love Train. It's when people just kind of send you albums or give you albums for free.
That's
And
amazing.
if you can, you know, you can repay the favor and give them an album someday as well. But
Yeah.
this is my friend Sean Lagan, who I know you are familiar with as well.
Love
He
Sean.
he gave me this album. This is Stephen Stills' Manassas. I've got my
Nice.
CSNY shirt on right now. So yes, 1972. This is fresh right after CSNY broke up, and a very creative period for Stephen Stills. This is a double album. A lot of you can see a lot of musicians on this one.
Yeah.
Um, this is a good album. It's a, as I say, double album. So there's each side has a different theme. So
Hmm.
side one is called The Raven, and that's like rock and Latin tunes. Side two is The Wilderness. That's country and bluegrass tunes. Side
Amazing.
three is called Consider, and that's folk and folk rock. And
Yeah.
then side four is called Rock and Roll is Here to Stay. And in case you couldn't guess, that is like rock and blues songs.
Yeah.
Um, I would say like the distinction between all four sides is kind of loose. Like it's not. It's a little bit loose. A lot of the
Yeah.
songs sound similar.
Yeah.
This is a good album, but I really, me being like the CSNY fan that I am, I really would have loved this to be like a CSNY album.
Right.
For Stills to have this many songs, I just kind of really would like. I just want to hear, you know, Crosby and Nash like harmonizing with him on this album. But a good one nonetheless.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I love the whole Good Samaritan vinyl thing. I think
yeah,
that's so cool.
yeah. It's
That's
great.
unbelievable. Yeah. Awesome. I just want to say hi to my friend Duck. Welcome to the stream, Duck. We're talking about vinyl today. And who else? Naz. Naz has subscribed to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Naz, for the subscription right there. We appreciate that. All right. And Naz also says, can't wait to hear the top 3. I know. Drum roll.
Yeah. This is a good thing about doing the countdown is like every next album, I'm like, oh, I love this one even more, and
Yeah.
like even more than the last one.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah. And I think the two of us also realized this too, that 1972 compared to some other years was a little bit more of a quiet year. I feel like even like 71, 73, that there was a lot, like for example, there was no Zeppelin album released
That
in 72,
that's
right?
right.
There was no Who album released in 72 as well. So there's some major band, Pink Floyd, nothing in 72 as well. So
I
like,
feel like
or
I
did
think
Floyd have something?
I think Obscured by Clouds.
Yeah.
I think is 73, but I don't have Obscured by Clouds.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
also like a it's like a soundtrack, like a movie soundtrack.
Okay.
They wrote for a
Okay.
film. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean Dark Side would be a year later, so we'll have to wait to show that one.
That's okay. We're only starting this little
That's right.
collaboration series,
Who knows
so
where it could
we
go?
we still got a lot more to discuss, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so my what are we on? Is this
I
number
think this is 8.
this is number 8?
I think
Okay,
so.
so because I
Yeah,
talked about, yeah, you're
yeah,
right. 10, 9. This is 8. This is
this
8.
is 8.
Okay. Arithmetic was not my forte. All right. Drum roll. Duck says, I've got 1.2K points now. Keep on collecting those bongo points. Okay, and mine is going to be The Doors. This is a compilation Doors album. So Morrison had died the year before, and this was released in 72, and this was a double compilation album. I love the double albums, just love them. So I'm
Yeah,
just going to open this up for you here just to show you that yes, it is a double album. I just love how it looks.
nice.
I love how it feels. Got this really psychedelic art on both sides. Another reason why I think you and I are both into vinyl is just the visual artistry behind it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's just the 12 inches is just a really great space for art and just to hold. It's just a wonderful medium in that regard. But
Absolutely.
anyways, The Doors. This is called Weird Scenes from Inside the Gold Mine. And this compilation of Doors songs spans their entire career from their first album to their last album. And it's wild to think the Doors' first debut album was released in 1967, and by 71, Jim Morrison was dead, and that's it. In 4 years,
Yeah,
that they were recording artists, and that's it. It's incredible with how short of amount of time it was, and they were that productive within that amount of time. And this album I picked up. I actually so for those of you that are unaware, I run a hospitality business here on the edge of Algonquin Park, and people come and stay. They rent my cabins here, and what it was actually the brother of one of my customers sold me a lot of vinyl. Like I'm talking about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 units,
oh, that's awesome.
like a huge lot. In fact, he reached out to me and he sent me a list, and he said I guess he had taken the time to go into Microsoft Word and write down every single album that was in the collection that he was selling. It was an inheritance that he had received from his uncle, and he sends me the email, and I say, you know what? I'll just how much for the you know what I did? I said, I'm offering you this amount for the whole lot.
Yeah,
And he thought about it. We had a little bit of a negotiation, and then I just ended up buying the whole lot. And this came in that lot. Um,
that's great.
Danilo is his name. The Legend of Manu from Germany is here. Hey, Manu, how are you doing? Manu is an awesome streamer over there in Germany that does mainly video games. We're talking about vinyl records, and I'm doing a collaboration today with my good friend Chris, whose YouTube channel is called Stylus Meets Vinyl
That's
over
right.
on YouTube. But anyways, before I go any further, this album introduced me to the tracks Peace Frog, Running Blue, and Maggie McGill. Those three songs, they're like my favorite Doors album is LA Woman. But there are some songs from the other albums that are included on here that are just amazing tunes. And I'm so happy that they put them on here, because a lot of times on compilations they just put the cliche hits, but they really snuck in some really dark horse gems on this compilation, and that's why I love it so much. I'm a huge Doors fan, so I could not resist talking about the best albums from 1972 without including this compilation on the list. So
Nice. So
that's my rant.
I have a comment here from Dusty Spins.
Let's hear
Um,
it. I'd love to hear it.
he says, I think that's the reason many vinyl collectors still collect laser discs, the size of the artwork. That is totally true. Dusty Spins has his own channel. He does actually a ton of live streams as well. So, absolutely, that's. I mean, you're getting a piece of music, a piece of media, and then also you're getting like art. You're getting artwork.
That's right.
It's a double whammy. Way better than like an MP3 where you can't even hold it in your hand.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of which, I just want to ask the audience out there that's tuning in, how do you listen to your music? If you're sitting out there and you're watching our stream today, I'd be so curious. Are you a vinyl collector, or do you stream your music, or do you collect CDs? Whatever it might be. Legend of Manu says, I don't have that much knowledge about vinyl, but I would like to learn. Well, hey, I mean, this is how really modern music consumption really began, through vinyl, right?
Hmm. There's a lot of upside to listening to vinyl. I mean, it's certainly it's certainly expensive
Takes up space.
and takes up space exactly. But it sounds great if you take care of your records and you play them. On a appropriate like sound system, you can get a lot more out of your music than just like a little MP3.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Manu says, I grew up in the 2000s with MP3s and stuff, and sadly never had the chance. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like a different wavelength of uh, music fandom, because first of all, you need the equipment to play the record, and then you have to acquire the records themselves, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be there sitting in your living room with the thing there, and it's a very manual experience, right?
And it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt almost, where
Yeah,
like MP3s, you can just type in, okay, I want this, click, download, and then you have it. But like when you think of an album that you want, I like to hunt in the wild versus just ordering online, which you can do. You can order just an album online and get it. But I
yeah,
like being like, oh, I'm going to keep my eye out, for that Doors album. I'm going to keep my eye out. And then someday I find it, and you feel like it's this little treasure, this little Easter egg that you're finding, that now
yeah,
you get to add this to your collection.
yeah. I just have a comment coming in here. This is Lawless LG, who is in Kingston, Ontario. Lawless says, I'm just hanging out, being quiet, but since you asked, I do collect vinyl myself. I have a small collection, about 400. That's
Wow.
pretty good.
That's
400?
that's not that
400,
small.
400 is not small.
Yeah.
That's like a decent sized collection. I mean, there's some people like, I mean, I have a pretty big collection because I've my business has become part of my collecting, so that's really allowed me to expand my collection. But for the casual hobbyist, 400 is an amazing amount. Well, Lawless LG, do you know if you have any albums from 1972? Because we would like to know. Because right now we're going over a top 10 albums from 1972 that we own. That we
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Another
Law. Yeah.
Sorry, just going to say another comment here from Dusty Spins. He says, collecting vinyl is showing a commitment to your love of music. You're invested in interacting with your music. Absolutely. It's an interaction. Yeah, you listen to vinyl differently than you listen to like just, say Spotify or something like that, right? Like it
Yeah.
really is a commitment to sitting down, listening, and just enjoying it in a different way.
Absolutely true. And
Okay.
Lawless says, oldest I have would be from the 80s. And you know what? That's actually really cool. I think that personally, I feel like 80s vinyl is a little bit exotic because by the 80s, the cassette tape was really taking off. And then the people that were really cool were beginning to get CDs, right? So, yeah, Lawless, if you want to share with us and let us know maybe your top 5 albums that you're most proud of owning, please do let us know. But, anyways, Chris, I think it's your turn to go next with
Yes.
number 7.
Number 7.
Let's
Okay.
go
Number
for it.
7, we have Hendrix in the West. So
Ooh.
this is a live album of Hendrix. This is obviously, so he had passed away at this point. He passed away in September 1970, I believe.
Yeah.
So there were a number of albums that were released after he was passed. A lot of them were just live recordings that he made over the years.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. So this is, I think it's mainly 1969 with the Experience, and then also 1970 the Cry of Love tour. So what's cool about this album? Now I would say I probably would have ranked it higher, but because it's sort of like posthumous and
Yeah.
just kind of a mishmash of like old recordings.
It's a
Um,
collection, right?
yeah.
Yeah. A
So
compilation. Mhm.
yeah, so this is what's cool about this one is you get some covers from Jimmy. You get
Nice.
he covers Johnny B. Good, so he covers Chuck Berry. He
Amazing.
covers the Beatles. He covers Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and
Amazing.
he covers Carl Perkins with Blue Suede Shoes. And there's also two really nice long slow jams on this one. There's Red House and Voodoo Child. So you're gonna get that like the stuff that you expect from Jimmy, the shredding, the guitar shredding, and the soulful tracks. So this is definitely like as far as posthumous stuff goes, this is a good one.
Amazing, yeah, and you know his career similar to Jim Morris. I mean, Jim Morrison and Jimmy both
Yeah,
died at 27, right? Like
yeah,
very short but very productive careers, and it's just remarkable to think of how much amazing, important stuff he produced and created within that short time period. It's just
yeah.
unbelievable, and that's why
That's
so much of his stuff is posthumous, right?
yeah, yeah. And it's
Yeah,
still relevant too. Like I
it
remember
is.
the thing about Jimmy, like you know, growing up as a kid, you'd hear his name, and there can be a rush for people to be like, yeah, like Led Zeppelin, they're overrated. Like the Beatles are overrated. Jimi Hendrix is overrated. But like you listen to Hendrix, like he is not overrated. Like he was doing stuff on the guitar in 1967, 68, 69 that other people weren't doing.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Absolute trailblazers, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I just have a comment coming in from Lawless here. Lawless says, I mean, this sounds silly since we're talking about music from the 70s, but I have a test pressing of a Blink 182 album. To be
That's
totally
that's
honest,
awesome.
Lawless, hold on to that.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, is very valuable. A test vinyl of a Blink 182 album. Anything original pressing, in my
Yeah.
opinion, is valuable. Doesn't matter who the artist is. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, different artists have higher values. That's a given. But still, any original pressing is like gold to me. And then the comment continues. I also have two Annihilator records that are numbered and limited to 150 and have only been pressed once. Hold on to those as
Yeah.
well. I have to be honest. I don't know Annihilator. I assume that's a band. Annihilator kind of sounds like a metal band, perhaps, or a hard
Is
rock
that
band.
is it Depeche Mode? Is that it? Or sorry, The Cure? Annihilator,
Uh,
I think.
yeah, Annihilator. Is that The Cure or Depeche Mode? I'll wait and see if he responds. Ooh, okay. He said, Lawless says Annihilator is a Canadian trash metal band.
Oh.
That's cool. Well, hold on to that.
Yeah.
And then the comment it continues. So those are probably my tops only because of the rarity of them. Hey, hold on to those thrash. So not trash, but thrash. Trash metal or thrash metal. Yeah.
Two very different things.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, honestly, though, Lawless, thank you for chiming in here because you know we're also music lovers and music collectors. So I feel the connection with you right now. But still, 400 albums. That's a very
Yeah,
respectable amount.
that is.
Right on. So who's
I think
next?
it's you.
It's me. Okay, it's me. Okay, so the next album that I have here. Here we go. Drum roll. We got Honky Chateau by Elton John.
Nice.
Honky Chateau by Elton John. This is released in 1972. I'm just gonna, for the viewers out there, I'm just gonna show everybody the album here. And again, this is why I love albums, why I love vinyl, is because of the size of it. And this is a single album, but they still have a like an opening
Yeah,
sleeve
gatefold.
thing,
Yeah,
gatefold. Yeah, that's what you call it. Really nice photography on this one. The biggest hits from this one, Honky Cat and Rocket Man, I think are the top two.
nice.
And the whole album, this one, because I know Elton John is obviously he plays the piano, right? So with the piano goes that sort of piano vibe, and that's kind of the sound that you get out of a piano centric band. But what I really enjoy about this album, and perhaps this is the theme of my presentation today, and that is the whole country rock infusion. And I think that I really like this album because this is Elton John's take on the country rock uh, genre. Like he really uses this very country tinged piano throughout almost pretty much all the songs on this album, and for that reason, it has a firm place in my top 10 of 1972.
Awesome.
And that's pretty much for standouts. I mean, I'm going to be a little bit cliche. Honky Cat and Rocket Man right now are
Yeah,
probably my top two from this, and but the rest are just these Elton John with tiny little bit of country tinge
yeah.
that I really enjoy. So
You
that's
certainly.
my is that number seven?
I think that was seven. Yeah, seven.
Yeah, it was seven. Yeah.
Okay, so number
So what were
six.
you going to say there?
I was just gonna say Elton has a little bit of like change. He changed his sound every decade or so. You know, every several years he would change his sound a little bit, right?
Which I think is important to do because you don't want your listeners to get bored of you, right?
Hmm. It reminds me of there's a quote, like I'm gonna misquote it, but there's a quote from Malcolm Young from AC/DC where he's like, people say that we have 12 albums that sound exactly the same, and that just makes me mad. We have 13 albums that sound exactly the same.
That's brilliant.
It's like, yeah, you can go the AC/DC route and just deliver like your product, like you just have exactly what you do, or you
Yeah,
can you can switch it up and change it a little bit.
do one thing very well.
That's right. That's right. Okay,
All right,
number
let's hear.
six.
We're on number six. I can't believe it. Okay, let's hear your number six.
Okay, we're getting into the prog now. You knew you were going to see some prog on this list because,
It's your specialty.
well, one of them, yeah, yeah. Okay, Pick as a Brick, Jethro Tull.
Oh,
So this is the album after Aqualung, and
nice.
I think so. Aqualung people had called that a concept album.
Okay.
And so Ian Anderson is the front man and like the creative force for Jethro Tull, and
Cool.
he's the flautist. And
Oh,
someone had called Aqualung a concept album, and I think he kind of took exception to that because it wasn't really a concept album, and so he's kind of wrote this one almost like out of spite, like on a dare, sort of like you want a concept album? I'll give you a concept album. And then this is literally there is like this album is just one track for like 46 minutes. Thick as a Brick Part 1, Thick as a Brick Part 2 on side 2. And it just runs continuously. There's
wow.
varying themes that you hear at the beginning and then they'll come back a bit later and then tons of changes and switches. And of course, you're going to hear the trademark flute. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a rock band with a flute. Like, how many rock bands can you name with flutes?
Yeah. Yeah. Can
So
you show us does it have a gatefold
yes, it
or
does. So
oh
this is a
please show us. I love how it looks like a newspaper. I love that.
yes, exactly. It's a newspaper, and there is like a newspaper inside. There's like a
That is amazing.
crossword, and I think there may have been even more to this than what there is here, but um, yeah, like you can literally just read articles in this if you wanted. And so I guess the concept of this is that this little guy, Gerald, this little kid here, Gerald Bostock, who's
Yeah.
fictional,
Yeah.
writes this like epic poem. And so the album is based off of this epic poem that little prodigy Gerald Bostock wrote.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Sweet. I love it. Thick as a brick. I love the whole concept behind so each side is one song.
one long song. Yeah.
That's and I you can't really do the same thing with an MP3 release, right? Oh, this
No.
is a 20-minute MP3. It works with vinyl. It doesn't necessarily work the same way with
Yeah.
with an MP3 release, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny with that because the opening track is thick as a brick. Like there was a single, and it's like, I don't know, 6 minutes or something. But I
Yeah.
remember having the MP3 of Thick as a Brick, and instead of the song ending, it
Yeah.
just the MP3 sort of just like the volume fades out, but you can hear that it's leading into something else. And before I knew about it, I remember thinking, being like, why, like, what is next? Like, I don't understand why it just faded out like that. And then I realized that's because it just moves into the next piece, and then that piece moves into the next piece, but it's still just one song.
Amazing. Gotta have some epic prog rock in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on number six,
Number
right?
six, yeah.
Number six. Okay, my number six. Again. We're going with the country rock theme. We have John Prine, "Diamonds in the Rough." John
Okay.
Prine, released in 1972. John Prine, for me, is like a an undiscovered Bob Dylan. I mean,
Yeah.
he's still famous. He's still very famous, and he's played on radio stations, and he's known. So he's not like completely undiscovered. But the lyricism of John Prine is on par with Bob Dylan's genius lyrics. Like
Hmm.
he's a poet. He's an American poet, and Diamonds in the Rough. This is toward the earlier start of his career. Unfortunately, John Prine passed away, I think, 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. So this album, I can't. Yeah, this is in the earlier half of his career, and similar to Elton John, who we just talked about earlier, he did end up having a an illness in his throat, which ended up changing his voice in the latter half of his career. So you can really hear John Prine's his younger voice on this album here.
Right.
But John Prine, in a nutshell, he's like a more country version of Bob Dylan, um, a folk artist, a country artist, and just so clever with his language. Standout tracks from here. I mean, the whole album is incredible. The one that really does it for me, Souvenirs. The track Souvenirs on this album is just the standout track. And yeah, if you ever visit Camp Bongopix, we totally sing tons and tons of John Prine.
Yeah,
So
I know
this is an
you and
artist.
Andrea love the Prime.
We do, we do. I just noticed that our buddy Naz Gold Scythe is writing in here. The sound quality of vinyl so much better than anything digital.
I would have to agree with that.
I would
Yeah.
have to agree. It's the warmth, it's the physical connection to it as well. And yeah, I can't agree anymore, Naz, for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely.
And you know what? Part of it, I think, like for me specifically, I'm a history guy, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
like history, and I think that's part of vinyl collecting as well. I mean, especially if you're like me and you like classic rock and a lot of older bands, is owning that little piece of history. And like I showed, having like my dad's name written on the top of the album jacket is just kind of cool to me. It's like a little artifact.
An artifact. Yeah, there's no better way to put it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
All right,
right.
so we're
So
on number five, right?
we're getting into the top 10 here.
Woo.
Oh, okay. I'm getting excited. Well, I already
Okay,
was
let's see it
excited,
happen.
but okay. Okay. So, number 5, sticking with the prog.
Let's go.
Yes. Fragile.
Oh yeah.
So this is another one that in the UK it came out in 71, but here in North America it came out in 1972. Um, this is, I want to say, yes, his fourth album. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But this is like beautiful, beautiful record. Like I think prog is something that I understand it's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but one of the things I love about prog, which you cannot deny, is the musicianship.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The best prog bands are just like amazing musicians who really really know their craft, and this is no exception here. So there's like some soft plucking, some beautiful, like almost like classical-esque, like you'll hear like mandolin on here. At least I think it's mandolin. But then you'll also have like the punch you in the face changes that Yes is like known for. Um, I would say, let me see, standout tracks on here, Roundabout, which is the long. I think it's about. I think it's. I don't know how long exactly Roundabout is, but it's quite long. Roundabout, South Side of the Sky, Long Distance Runaround, The Fish, Heart of the Sunrise. This is yes is can be known for like having really long tracks, but
Yeah.
there are some shorter nice tracks on here, like Long Distance Runaround and The Fish, that you kind of wish would go on a little bit longer. But this album, I could have ranked it higher, and I almost did, but it's tough. Like you're getting into the top five here, so
It's merciless.
something's got to give. But this is an excellent Yes album. And actually, I heard something too that so this album is called Fragile, and I have it somewhere in the stacks here. There's a Bachman Turner Overdrive album called Not Fragile, and they actually chose that name because they were like almost like put off by like a rock a rock album being called Fragile. That were like, no, like this is a rock album, so this is not fragile. So there's a little tidbit.
All trivia I find absolutely fascinating. So
Yes.
never hesitate to drop the trivia.
Okay.
Okay, so this is my number five, right? I think so. I think it is.
Yep.
All right, so my number five from 1972, we got Lou Reed, Transformer.
Nice.
Lou Reed, Transformer. This was Lou Reed's first solo album after exiting the Velvet Underground. So Lou Reed was pretty much the leader of the Velvet Underground, and the Velvet Underground is essentially credited with creating the foundation of stripped down music like punk and everything in between. And he was also part of that whole movement that had no limits about singing over about taboo stuff. So we're talking about sex and drugs. Lou Reed was all over that stuff
Yeah.
before anybody else was singing about that kind of stuff. And Lou Reed was also right in the thick of the scene with Andy Warhol and the that very fresh LGBTQ scene in New York. He was right in the thick of it. I
Yep.
don't believe that Lou Reed. I'm not sure what Lou Reed's orientation. I'm not sure if he was LGBTQ or what, but he was definitely very playful in that he had no boundaries whatsoever.
Yes.
And a lot of the content on this album does relate to that. Standout tracks, Vicious, Perfect Day, Walk on the Wild Side, of course, is the international
Yep.
hit behind this album, which has been sampled in hip hop numerous times. Walk on the Wild Side. Satellite of Love, Wagon Wheel are the other ones here that come to mind as standout tracks. Lou Reed, famously a very hard to get along with kind of a guy. He was a little bit of an a-hole.
Yeah.
he had a big head, but he was just quirky and lovable at the same time, though. But anyways, yeah, Transformer. That's my number five.
Nice. I know Perfect Day is a really, really nice song. I really like that one.
Whenever we're having a good day, we tend to hum that song.
Yes, yes, exactly. Awesome. Okay, awesome. So now number four.
Let's hear it. Go for it.
Okay, number four. Getting into the hard rock here. Hard
Right.
rock.
Can't wait. Rock my
And
world.
this is a live album. The first, and I think the only live album on my list here. This is Deep Purple, made in Japan.
Ooh.
So obviously this is from three shows they played in Japan, and I think it wasn't actually intended originally to actually be an album that they were going to release,
Yeah.
but they did end up releasing it, and this is a phenomenal live album. So good. Like this is a double album,
Yeah.
and there is seven songs on this double album.
Wow.
So you're gonna hear some really long jammy jam out songs, and like so the Ian Gillan is the vocalist, and he there's a Child in Time on this one is like fantastic. You just hear him like wailing, just wailing like a banshee on that one. Um, there's a really nice call and answer on the album between Richie Blackmore, the guitarist, and John Lord, who was the drummer.
Yeah.
You're hearing Smoke on the Water. There's there's a really nice little song called Lazy where they give John Lord like a or and a mule as well. They give him like a lot of time to solo drum solos. Um, really nice gatefold here from
Love
Japan.
gatefolds.
This is an album that like if you know Deep Purple or you like hard rock, pick this up. Like there's some bands. I mean, some that I've seen live in person that don't sound that great live.
Hmm.
This album is just like it's incredible that this is just a live album. The band is really on point with this one, and all of the tracks that you would kind of expect to hear up to this point: Highway Star, Child in Time, Smoke on the Water, The Mule, Strange Kind of Woman, Lazy, and then Space Trucking. And Space Trucking is on side six or side four, and it's the entire length of side four. So I got this one for a good deal because it has a little bit of water damage on the bottom, but
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me one bit because the album itself sounds great.
The
So
sound quality is unchanged, right?
exactly, yes.
Luckily, can it a vinyl disc, it's not susceptible to water damage, is it?
I think like you can get corrosion from
Ah,
hard
okay.
water and that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
I think the threat is really like mold. You can get mold on records,
You can,
and that can be
yes.
tough to get off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can also like you know you can salvage a record if it's got mold. You could clean it up and get it off, but I haven't had too much experience with that.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, so my number 4 now of 1972. My number 4 is Ziggy Stardust.
Nice,
David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. That is my top 4 from 1972 of the albums that I own. This is a concept album, as we all know. One of his most famous characters that he played, Ziggy Stardust. And this is this is one of those albums that are just made for cover to cover and listening, like from track one all the way to the last track. It just flows great. I can't say enough good stuff about it. And David was very influential with setting down the inspiration and foundation of alternative rock and a lot of modern rock, I would say. And of course, like his whole costumes and his whole visual image that he projects in this era and on this album is just so iconic. So
hmm
it has a very well earned spot in my lineup here. For me to choose some standouts, I love the opening tracks. 5 Years,
Oh yeah,
Suffragate City, Rock and Roll Suicide. Those I'm gonna say are the standout tracks for me. And yeah,
nice.
it's just so quirky. It's just such a beautiful concept album, and it's just David Bowie being his best. So
Have
that's my number 4.
Have you heard the I don't know if I call it conspiracy theory with that album, but uh
Ooh, tell me more.
it's clearly just it's nonsense. But so you the opening track, 5 Years, right?
Yeah,
And
love that
so
song.
that song, well, if you look at the cover of that album,
Yeah.
It's Ziggy kind of in an alleyway, and that yellow sign up above that says K West. And
Yeah.
so 1972, 5 years after 1972, Kanye
Yeah.
West was born. Yeah,
No.
yeah. So it's
Oh
like
my God.
this,
That's a funny theory.
yeah,
That's
this
very
weird,
funny.
weird connection between
That's
Ziggy Stardust
very
and Kanye
interesting.
West.
Hey, never hesitate to drop trivia because I
Oh
love
yeah,
trivia
I love it. I
and
love
just
it.
including conspiracy theory
Yeah,
trivia.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Okay,
so we're in the top three, right?
top three. This
Okay,
is the
let's
nitty
go.
gritty right here.
All right, let's
Okay,
hear it.
number three. You've seen them on this list already. We're getting a double dose of.
Okay.
Yes. This is
Oh,
close to the edge. Also
okay.
from 1972, obviously, because we're talking about it.
Yeah,
So Fragile was before the album before this,
yeah,
and Fragile. I mentioned that there were like some shorter tracks on there, a couple of like
yeah.
3 minute long tracks, and a couple of long ones. This album is 3 songs.
Wow.
So Close to the Edge is all of side one, and then side two is and You and I, and side three is Siberian Kotru. And
Okay.
there's different, they break, like Close to the Edge is broken down into four different parts, and you'll hear those transitions. But this is, again, like I said, the musicianship on here is incredible.
Yeah.
The bass, the organ. Rick Wakefield was the drummer. Wakeman, sorry, Rick, or not the drummer, keyboards. Rick Wakeman was the keyboards. Chris Swire on bass. Steve Howe on guitar. Bill Bruford on percussion, and John Anderson on vocals. Um, Bruford, I think he ended up joining King Crimson after this. I think,
Okay. Okay.
which is another prog band. But this is just punch you in the face, like changes on here. It's just so good. And like I said, it's really, prog is an acquired taste, I think. But the more I listen to this, the more I love it. Like, I love Yes more every single time I listen to them. And I remember, um, oh, I'm getting something that I'm echoing. Someone's saying I'm echoing here. Um, but sorry, just making an adjustment here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, this is just, yeah. Every time I hear it, I like it even more. Um, it's just incredible, fantastic. Yes, Close to the Edge.
Amazing. Amazing. And so they released two really good albums in 1 year.
Yes, yes.
Very cool.
Essential. That Close to the Edge is just a prog masterpiece.
All right. Okay, so shall I go to my number three?
Yes, yes, you should.
All right. So Bongo's number three. I have a feeling this is also going to be on your list as well. But my number three is Harvest by
Nice.
Neil Young. Harvest by Neil Young. One of his. I mean, this album had his only number one hit, as far as I know,
Yep.
which was Heart of Gold, I think, hit number one. And he did not have another song that hit number one. But of course, Neil Young doesn't care. Neil Young doesn't care whether he's number one or number two or whatever it is. He just cares that he's doing good music and having and just enjoying his artistry because that's who he is, right? And um, I think you were telling me once this is considered one of the best Canadian albums of all time, and it's absolutely. I mean, Heart of Gold is I think Heart of Gold will be a song that we sing even 500 years from now. But Out on the Weekend, the song Harvest, Heart of Gold, Are You Ready for the Country, Old Man, The Needle and the Damage Done. I'd say that those are my standout tracks from this album. It's
Yes.
just a beautiful, beautiful LP, and that's this is my number three. And look how beautiful this art. Neil Young's visual artistry is my love. I just love the way that he depicts himself through art on his albums. I'm all over it.
I heard that he wanted the jacket to decompose over time.
That's pretty phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah,
he would want stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
he's so particular and it's beautiful.
Yeah. And actually that I don't know if it's that copy, but we made a trade. You got
That's right, we did.
you I had two copies of Harvest and you
Yep,
had two copies of Born to Run and we
Born to
made a
Run.
trade.
And that's a vital piece of our vinyl relationship, right?
That's right. That's right.
That trading that yeah, trading. That's a whole other and you know, you can't quite do the same with MP3s, right? You know, but a physical copy, you can trade that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. S- Okay, so shall we go to number two?
Get us started.
Okay, number two, which, we just saw, Harvest, Neil
Oh,
Young. It's my number
Chris's number
two.
two is also Harvest.
Um, so
My
yeah, I
number
mean,
three, your number two.
what can I
Nice.
say that you haven't said already or hasn't been said about this album already? Um,
Yeah.
I love the back. They're showing the
Oh,
barn here.
that picture is so beautiful.
Yeah, and
James Taylor's on it, right?
well, this is James Taylor, Linda Ronstadt, and I think all of Crosby, Stills, and Nash are all vocalists, guest vocalists on this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I heard at one time, I don't know if this is completely true or not, but I heard with so James Taylor plays the banjo on Old Man,
Right.
and I had heard that Neil, they were like rehearsing and they're just like, okay, so, trying to give James like an idea of what he wants. And so he's like, okay, so we'll play it through. So they play it through and
Yeah.
he's plucking away on the banjo and they finish. And then James Taylor's like, okay, Neil, like I'm ready to lay the track down. And then Neil's like, what do you mean? That was it. He's like, that we got it. So it might be false, but I heard that about this and this is yeah, it was released. It was recorded in a barn, like many of Neil's stuff is. You've got
Yeah.
that like um, unpolished sound from Neil.
The raw
Yeah,
sound, right?
exactly. And yeah, so
Awesome.
yeah, so number two, this is great. I love
Uh-oh.
it.
I
And
don't
I
know if I
think,
can hear you.
oh, hold on a second. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Now I can hear you.
I
Now I
was
can hear you.
I was just concerned. I was told that I was echoing, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it's sounding on the other end, but okay. Um yeah, so the only thing I would say about this album is that like tons of really good tracks. On the Weekend is great. Are You Ready for the Country? One of my favorite kind of like sleepy
Yeah.
songs that maybe doesn't get talked about enough with
Yeah.
Neil. Um the only song that doesn't hit me right is There's a World with the orchestra. So I find it just like a little bit heavy-handed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is a country rock masterpiece, I think, as far as
It
I'm
is a country rock masterpiece.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the London Symphony Orchestra, I think that he get, and then Old Man, sorry, Man Needs a Maid also
Yeah.
has the orchestra. I myself personally, I'm not. Uh, Man Needs a Maid is probably one of my least favorite Neil Young songs. Again, it's just so orchestral, right? And it
Yeah.
almost feels out of place as you know, being on this raw country rock record, right?
Yeah.
But still, despite those moments, is still such an important album, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was your number two.
Yes.
Let's talk about Bongo's number two here. Okay, so my number two is an album called "Will the Circle Be Unbroken," and this is a collaboration album involving at the time in 1972, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band uh, put this together. So the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band was a country rock band that was up and coming, and they were. This is a double. Actually, I think this is a triple album. How many? Yeah, triple. This is a triple album. I
Nice.
love. If I ever have to rank favorite albums or desert island albums, I always go for the ones that are just massive but also quality, because you just get that much more quality, right? uh this There's so many songs, 28. I think this says there's 28 songs on here, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, wait, maybe that's the price. 3 LPs, $28. That's probably what that means. But this album to me, just it is just so beautiful. So basically, they get the Carter, I think it was Maybelle Carter, Roy Acuff, and a whole bunch of other very important country artists. So yeah, Mother Maybelle, Earl Scruggs, Doc Watson, Roy Acuff, and then a whole bunch of other people. Very, very important Grand Ole Opry performers, and just and then so it's this fascinating um collaboration between this up and coming band, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and then their old timey country star heroes as well. And it's just and it's all recorded live too. That's my other favorite thing about this
Great.
album. It's all recorded live. It's not like a studio album with layers of tracks and that kind of stuff. It's all done live, and it's just an inspiring piece of music. And from in the country canon, this is a very, very, very important album. So that's called "Will the Circle Be Unbroken" with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and then all of the living country artists that were alive in 1972.
Awesome. That's great. Great collaboration.
All right,
Okay.
are we on the number one?
We're on the top spot. Top
We're in the
spot.
top spot. This is an important moment right here.
This is an important. You can probably guess which one mine is going to be because we haven't talked about it yet.
Okay, let's hear it. Oh, the number
Ziggy
one.
Stardust.
Ziggy
This,
Stardust is your number one
yeah,
for
you know what?
nineteen.
This album, like I didn't want to say too much about it when you were talking because I wanted to save something for when I was going to talk. But
Yeah,
this is, yeah, like start to finish, every single song is fantastic. Every song flows into the next song perfectly.
yeah,
Um, I love on the back here it says to be played at maximum volume.
yeah.
Um, and for me, this is a reissue. I think it's like a 2012 or
Okay.
2016 reissue, and it's actually was done really, really well. Very, very excellent reissue. Um, yeah, we talked about I love 5 years. I love just that chant, 5 years.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
it's great.
yeah,
It really gets you going. It's such a perfect opener for this album.
yeah,
I love Soul Love, the second track, Moon Age Daydream, the third track. Um, it Ain't Easy, to close out side one. Both sides are fantastic, but like particularly I really love side one on this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but you got Starman, Lady Stardust, Star, Hang On to Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, Rock and Roll Suicide. Um, yeah, I mean, this is like you can just hear Bowie's just his sheer talent. Like this is just such a great album. Really, really, really strong stuff from Bowie here. So this is my number one. It wasn't an easy decision. I love that. Like once you're getting into the top five, is
it's
like, oh
hard.
man, I love all of these albums. But there's some. My girlfriend and I both. We love spinning this album. This is probably one of the albums that we spin the most in my collection,
Yeah,
and I was thinking about, my my Yes and like the Neil Young Harvest and like where I'm gonna put these albums on the list, and it's like, Close to the Edge is such an iconic Yes album. Um, but I find sometimes it's like you have to be in the right mood to play an album like that. Um, Harvest gets number two spot because particularly because you kind of mentioned that like Harvest, 500 years we'll be hearing it. And it's like Harvest, there's so many tracks on that that like you can play around a campfire and you can sing around a campfire, which obviously appeals to you and I. And this album is just every single time I hear it, it puts me in a good mood and just I can't say enough about it. I love it so much.
Boom, boom, boom. It's been said. And I just want to give a shout out. Our friend Duck is back. Welcome back to the stream, Duck. Lawless says, wow, what a twist. So upon you unveiling that number one, Lawless says, what a twist. Yes. Bowie appears on both of our lists, both in the top five. Your number one. And what's left is my number one. Red X has just joined us here. Hello, just chatting today. Yes, we are just chatting today. That's right. We're chatting about vinyl records here with my friend Chris. Okay, so from 1972, my top album that I own on vinyl is Exile on Main Street. Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. This is, I think, their only double album. Perhaps maybe they've released albums like compilation albums that might be double albums, but I think that this is their one and only. Again, if I'm incorrect, please do correct me. But I'm pretty sure that this is their only double album as an original release, and this is considered to be a lot of music critics actually consider this to be their best album because of its size. It's just enormous, and this was so the Rolling Stones had a string of albums that were just so important. Started off with Beggar's Banquet, released in 1968. 1969, you had Exile on Main Street. I think 71 was
No,
Sticky
that's
Fingers.
Exile on Main Street.
And sorry, what did I say?
Are you
Exile on Main.
Let It Bleed? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Sorry. So 68 Beggar's Banquet, 69 Let It Bleed. That's what I meant to say. 69 Let It Bleed, 71 Sticky Fingers, 72 this album here.
Yeah,
And those four albums, any band would kill just to release
yeah,
a fraction of any of those albums. They were just loaded,
yeah,
loaded with genius moments of rock and roll. And this album was released when they were actually tax exiles living in France. And that's part of the reason why it's called Exile on Main Street. And they were, Keith Richards rented a mansion, and it was just, apparently it was just all debauchery all the time. And how they even ended up recording an album is anybody's guess, because it was just a party. It was just a 24/7 party the whole time. Apparently at one point they actually had drug dealers that came in and stole equipment from them, and it was like the saxophones disappeared one day, and it was like rock and roll at its peak, and they just lived the rock and roll lifestyle in the creation of this album. And it's just so big. It is a double disc, so I love the size of it for that reason. And by double album, yeah, here you go. You've got your two albums. Standout tracks: Happy, Ventilator Blues, Shine a Light. Other ones that are really good.
Tumbling Dice is on there, isn't it?
Tumbling Dice is incredible.
I love that song.
Sweet Virginia is incredible. Black Angel is incredible. Loving Cup is incredible as well. The Rolling Stones were also very soulful during this period of time in their history. Like they had this soul influence that they were singing with. It was blues and soul, and it was just really, really fantastic. And Yeah, that's my definite number one. I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan, and Exile on Main Street for me is my top 1972 album.
That is a good one. That's one that I don't have, and you're absolutely right. Like we have Let It Bleed.
Yeah. Oh,
And
Let It Bleed is so good. It's
yes, yes, and I plan on getting Exile. Haven't found it for the right, just the right price yet.
a
I
big
do,
album. It's expensive. Yeah.
yeah, I do have confirmation from viewer Beatley Tones Beatles channel says yes, that is their only double studio album.
And this is why I love the live stream. Is that
Yes, exactly.
I can get these verifications in real time, right?
Instantly, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a fantastic album. Definitely one that I plan on having in my collection someday. And if I did, it would be on the list, but I don't, so it's not there.
And that's hey, and but this is the beauty of vinyl collecting is that it's all about the hunt, right?
That's right. That's right.
It's
We will
all
find
about the
it.
hunt. And in all fairness, I only bought this physical copy. I only got this, I'm gonna say right before the pandemic. I think, and this was I got this actually in Oshawa at the Oshawa Record Fair, which
Nice.
was in the winter time. Yeah, it was at a church basement in
Awesome.
Oshawa. Yeah, and again, I feel like it was either late 2018 or early 2019. So this is actually a little bit more of a newer addition to my own collection.
Great.
But yeah, right on, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Well,
So if you didn't think it could be done, it has been done. We've listed our top 10. It's been hard. I feel bad for the albums that we had to leave off of the list, but
I know.
when you're making lists, you have to make cuts, right?
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Well, that was great. That was a lot of fun, Bongo.
Hey, I had an amazing time. I had so much fun. I love nerding out about this kind of stuff. Is the stream ending, says Duck. I don't know. What we haven't really talked too much about the ending of the stream. I think it might be. Yeah, I mean our
Yeah.
goal was to just talk about our top 10. I am going to be back tomorrow, Duck. I'm going to be doing Splatoon 2 starting at 7 p.m. and then moving on to Mario Kart later on in the stream. So I will be back tomorrow. So you can catch us again tomorrow evening. But
Yes,
yeah,
the same viewer, Beatley Tones Beatles channel says, "Sorry I missed the rest of this stream. 1972 was a fantastic year for rock music." Absolutely true.
it was, yes, yes, in the early stages of the 70s. So, but anyways, your video will be saved on your channel. So all of
Yeah,
the viewers that missed out, you can just rewind back and catch the earlier half of our conversation.
that's right. And if enough people like this kind of a stream of you and I talking music, then maybe we'll make it a regular thing and we'll do it every so often.
I would love to do it more often. Absolutely. I could talk about vinyl all day long.
That's right. It doesn't have to end.
That's right. Awesome, man.
Well, so yes, I am Chris over at Stylus Meets Vinyl. This is Bongo over at Bongopix. And this has been us chatting about our favorite records from 1972.
Amazing. And actually, I wanted to ask you, how do we find you on YouTube? Do we just search for Stylus Meets Vinyl?
That's right. Stylus, Stylus meets vinyl.
And that's how we find Chris.
That's it.
Awesome. Beautiful. Lawless says, great stream, guys.
Oh, thank you so much. That's
Uh,
awesome.
that means a
Yeah.
lot to us, Lawless. No, we appreciate you tuning in and nerding out about retro collecting of music.
Yeah.
And Lawless, hey, I would be so curious to hear more about your collection. 400 pieces extending from the 80s onwards, and yeah, you having some underground thrash metal and some unreleased Blink 182 stuff. That's super cool. If that's just the tip of the iceberg, I can only imagine what other gems you have in your collection.
That's
So
right. Well, it looks like I got something right because Beatley Tones agrees with me. He says Ziggy wins for me too for 1972. So
oh yeah,
some kind of vindication there. But it's nice to see the
of
top, like once
course.
top five once you start. It's such a difficult process,
Of
cutting it down, right?
Oh, it's so hard to do. Yeah. Yeah.
All
Right
right.
on,
Well,
friend. All right.
Bongo, this has been great.
Hey, it's been awesome. Yeah, you take care.
You
And
too.
we'll definitely hook up another time to do something like this. We'll think of another thematic conversation piece. And hey, this is just our first time as well, so we'll see what other funky stuff happens in the future with our future stream collabs.
That's right. That's right. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and for the comments as well. The interaction with everyone has been awesome.
Right on. Yeah, we appreciate it. Okay, you take care, Chris.
Yep.